solving algebraic equations for a single variable. The objective of solving algebraic equations is to isolate the variable to one side of the equation in order to solve and obtain the answer on the other side. The key to doing this is to remember that whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. Let's examine the equation below. 36 equals 4 plus 8x squared. Our variable is x, so we want to isolate x by bringing all the other numbers to the other side of the equation. We will start by subtracting 4 from each side. 4 minus 4 is 0, and 36 minus 4 is 32. Therefore, our new equation is 32 equals 8x squared. Since 8 is multiplied by x on the right side of the equation, we must now divide by 8 to get x squared alone. 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 32 divided by 8 is 4. Our equation now reads 4 equals x squared. Even though we now have x on one side of the equation and 4 on the other, we are not done solving because x is squared. When a number is multiplied by itself, it's known as squaring the number. In order to undo the square, we must take the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x, but now we must solve for the square root of 4. Since taking the square root is the opposite of squaring a number, we can see which number squared equals 4. That number will then also be the square root of 4. What number multiplied by itself is 4? The answer is 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. Therefore, the square root of 4 is 2. Not all numbers are as easy to take the square root of as 4, so remember to use your square root key on your calculator to figure out the square root of more complicated numbers. Our answer reads 2 equals x, or x equals 2. X is now isolated by itself, so we have reached our answer and are finished. Let's move on to our second math example. We have an equation of h in terms of t equals negative 1/2 times g times t squared plus v sub 0 times t plus s sub 0. This equation will come into play when we do our scientific examples to solve for reaction time. But for now, let's fill in the variables with numbers and solve for t. Our equation is negative 256 equals negative 1/2 times 32 times t squared plus 0t. Since 0 times any number is 0, then we can remove 0t from our equation. Our equation now reads negative 256 equals negative 1/2 times 32 times t squared. First, to simplify, let's take negative 1/2 times 32. Multiplying a number by 1/2 is like dividing it by 2. So what's 32 divided by 2? The answer is 16. And since it was a negative 1/2 times 32, we must make the 16 negative because a negative times a positive is a negative. Our equation now reads negative 256 equals negative 16 t squared. Now, once again, since negative 16 is multiplied by t squared on the right side of the equation, we must divide each side by negative 16 in order to isolate t squared. Negative 16 divided by negative 16 is 1, and negative 256 divided by negative 16 is 16. Therefore, our new equation is 16 equals t squared. Now, like in example 1, We can solve for t by taking the square root of each side of the equation. The square root of t squared is t, but what is the square root of 16? What number multiplied by itself is 16? The answer is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Therefore, the square root of 16 is 4. Our equation now reads t equals 4. T is isolated by itself on one side of the equation, and we are now finished with an answer of 4. T equals 4.